Okay, our retro review of Star Trek the original series. This is the alternative factor. Talk about that in a second. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. And the alternative factor, this week's episode of the original series, is one that I really never really got into. I mean, there are good episodes and there are bad episodes of the original series, but this one just never clicked with me. And I thought on a rewatch, I would probably catch some things that I had missed before. And perhaps I did, but it does not change my opinion of this particular episode. This is not one that I've watched very many times, and not one that I would be inclined to watch many times more. First of all, there's Scotty is not in this episode, neither is Sulu. We know that Sulu, the George Takei, had some time off in order to film The Green Berets with John Wayne, and was required to be offset sometimes. We don't know why James Doohan was not there this time, especially since a lot of the episode occurred in engineering. You'd think the chief engineer would be there, but instead they used basically extras for that. Also, they showed the dilithium crystals being more of a flat light rather than the quartz crystal that they used later, and they had it kind of in a drawer instead of in modules in the middle of the engineering. But this, of course, is early first season, and at this time engineering just had panels along the walls and hardly anything in the middle. There were no red shirts killed, although there were 4 or 5 that were used as security detail on the ship and on the planet. We have, in fact, I don't think anybody was killed on this episode at all, although there were things that would end the entire universe. And the effects for that really weren't very explanatory or very well done. They did the usual spinning screen to show them going from one dimension to the other, superimpose a star field on it, show people in hand-to-hand combat filmed in negative. Things like this were just stuff that you kind of wondered, oh, what is this? And even after they told you what it was, you still kind of said, what is this? Noticed that when the ship was at red alert, which they called battle stations at that point, and that's okay, there were still people in the rec room. And I always thought when you're at battle stations, everybody is at their battle station. Nobody goes on break. And yet there were people that were sitting in the break room and having coffee and other things like this. And that seemed to be kind of forgetting that the ship was on full alert. When Lazarus is messing with a high voltage junction in one of the corridors, they show it a little too close, and what you see actually are speaker plugs for audio speakers that weren't connected to any wires. He just unplugged and plugged them back in, and they show the usual pyrotechnics, and then it causes problems in engineering. Okay, fine. It's interesting to see what they used that were fairly common objects that people just weren't that familiar with, and might even not be now, that were useful in looking futuristic. After all is said and done, and Kirk is lamenting what of Lazarus, I never saw that he had such a close connection with either the positive or the negative Lazarus. They both seem to be, at one time, they both seem to be pretty much at the same thing, trying to steal away the ship's dilithium crystals. And it wasn't until the very last part of it that he's talking to the non-madman Lazarus that he says, well, it's, a terrible thing that you're going to be spending eternity at the throats of a madman. But then to be lamenting about it even after everything is fine now and the universe is safe. I'm kind of on Spock's side. What's your problem? We solved the problem. So this, not one I would recommend seeing, honestly. I think that there were a lot of very good episodes in the original series, and while this is not a bad one, this is not one that I would say, watch this and you'll really be sold on the idea of Star Trek. So I'd like to know what you think about this. Please put them in the comments below. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and let us know what you think. We, of course, do these retro reviews once a week, and also have retro reviews of Doctor Who. And we do, of course, whatever new show is in production currently, of course, is Picard and The Mandalorian. And I think the Bad Batch still has another episode to go. And we'll be doing those things as well. So we have videos all through the week. So check that out, or just Google The Oldest Nerd and you will find an entire catalog of things that we've done over the last 3 or 4 years that might be of interest to you. And so until next time, don't go far.